Hello everyone, my name is Niklesh. I welcome you to my channel RPA Techno Hub. Today we're going to learn about while loop, how while loop is different from if condition, about do while loop, how do while loop is different from while loop with sample use cases like printing 1 to 100 numbers, printing even numbers from 1 to 100 and printing odd numbers from 1 to 100 with counter logic. So before we learn that, I would just like to tell you a story wherein I explain the objects with if, while, and do while so that you can easily understand the concepts and remember forever. Let's get started. There is a boy who goes to a park every day after his school hours, and he has the habit of throwing the stones far away that he finds in the park. One day, he goes to the park and finds a ball, and out of excitement, he throws that ball far away. And he cannot play with that ball again because he has thrown it far away. If he wants to play with that ball, he will need to go find that ball. So here, the ball object can be compared with if in UiPath, wherein the if condition will be checked once, and if the condition is true, the workflow under it will be executed once. So if he wants to run this code over again, workflow over again, so he will need to run the process all over again. So the boy goes to the same park on the second day and he finds boomerang and he throws that boomerang far away. This time boomerang comes back to him. So let me just play this video just to show how boomerang works. So this way the boy can play with boomerang as long as he wants and as many times he wants. So this boomerang can be compared with while in programming language, wherein the condition will be checked multiple times and the workflow under it will be executed multiple times, just that the condition has to be true. On the third day, when the boy goes to park, he finds a boy who is playing with boomerang. So he goes to him and asks that if he can play with boomerang. That boy replies him saying, I'll give you first try for free, but the second time onwards you will need to pay me 5 rupees for each try. So the boy agrees to him and starts playing with that boomerang until he runs out of money. So, and the next time also he comes to the park and he asks this guy to play boomerang, though he doesn't have money that time. So he can play with the boomerang for once because the first try is free. So here, this thing can be compared with do while in programming languages or UiPath, wherein the condition will be checked multiple times and the workflow under it will be executed multiple times as while loop. But the statement or workflow will be executed at least once, even though the condition is false. So now let us see how we can implement the use cases like one printing 1 to 100 numbers and then even numbers from 1 to 100 and odd numbers from 1 to 100 using UiPath. So here I'm creating a process. I'll name it as do while and while. I'll give a description and I'll create it. So here the process is getting created. It's creating a workspace. It'll add all dependencies. The process is created. Let me just click on open main workflow. I will drag sequence activity onto the canvas. I will name it as main sequence. And I will select this and I'll create two variables. Counter, I'll change the type to int32 and I will give it as 1 and I will give max limit. I'll create one more variable called max limit and I'll change the type to int32 and I'll give it as 100. So here I'll just check if the counter is greater than 100 or not. So how can I check that? I'll just drag and drop if condition. If counter is greater than 100. So if counter is greater than 100, I'll just write greater than 100 text on console, output console. So otherwise, it should print less than 100. If the condition is not satisfied, less than 100 will be displayed. So here our expectation is that counter should not be greater than 100, right? So that will be printed on the console. Now let me just print 1 to 100 numbers on the output console. So for that, I'll just take while activity from the activities. Just drag and drop while, and the condition should be counter is less than counter is less than or equal to max limit. I have that max limit. So here you can in the if condition you can even keep max limit also, but it is up to you. So here if counter is less than or equal to max limit, I just want to print that counter on the console so that the number can be printed. So I'll just use write line, say counter dot to string. I have started the counter with 1 so that numbers will be printed from 1 to 100 only when you increment the counter. If you do not keep increment activity over here, that is using assign, so it will go for infinite loop. So let me just add assign activity to increment the counter. There should be some exit condition that will happen only when you increment the counter, right? So counter is equal to counter plus 1. So now let me just save it. I'll just explain. First, we are checking if the counter is greater than or 100. Accordingly, the message will be printed on the console. And then we are printing 1 to 100 with the condition like counter is less than or equal to max limit. That is 1 is less than or equal to 100. So the counter will be printed. First time 1 will be printed and then counter will be incremented so that all the 100 numbers will be printed out. Let me just do uh, run it in debug mode so that you can see the results on the output console printing. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and then less than 100 is also displayed on the top. You can see all the numbers getting displayed on the console. So if you want to print uh, the even numbers from 1 to 100, just that we need to put a condition inside the body of while, like if if counter mod 2 is equal to 0, then it's a even number. So I'll just drag and drop this into the then block, and then I'll do Control S, and then it'll just check if the modulus of counter when divided by 2 is 0 or not. And if it is 0, then that counter value will be shown. Otherwise, the counter value will not be shown on the console, output console. Let me just run this. Less than 100, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. All the even numbers are getting written on the console. And if you want to print odd numbers, all you need to do is just drag and drop this right line from then to else, so that if the counter is not if the counter doesn't result the modulus as 0 when it is divided by 2, then that counter value will be displayed on the output console. Let me just run this now, and you can see the odd numbers getting displayed from 1 to 100. The same thing can be achieved using even do while. So let me just show you. So let me just comment this uh, just by doing Control D. And if you want to enable it, so you can do Control E. So that can be seen if you right click, you can see this Control D and Control E just to disable and enable the activities. So now I'll use do while. So here the condition is kept at bottom because the body gets executed at least once. So let me just increment the number to 101, and I'll say counter should be less than or equal to max limit. So here the condition is false. That means 101 is greater than max limit, but still the body will get executed. Let me just show you that. So I'll do assign, uh, and before that I'll just print counter is equal to counter plus 1, and I'll right line counter dot to string. Now let me just run this. So though the condition fails, the body will be executed at least once because the body is present in the beginning and the condition is at the bottom. So let me just run this, and I have the while activities commented out. Yeah, I can run this. Let me just do F5, running the bot in debug mode, and you can see the output console displayed greater than 100. The counter is greater than 100, and the result is 101. Though it is greater than 100, the result is shown up because we use do while. So here, though the condition is false, the body will get executed at least once. Now, if I want to display 1 to 100 numbers, just what all I need to do is just change this number from 101 to 1 and do F5. Now you can see all the numbers from 1 to 100 uh, being displayed on console. I hope the session is informative. If you like the video, please do subscribe it and click the bell icon. And please do not forget to share it with your friends. Thank you.